Hi everyone, and welcome to Patagonia Radio. My name is Kenny Kaneko, Patagonia Surfing Ambassador. On this show, we bring you inspirational stories of people who love the outdoors and their passions, travels, expeditions, and their daily adventures in the wild. Today we have Aileen Ottenweller from Patagonia's headquarters in California. She is the global head of brand and business impact at Patagonia. Aileen is in Japan for Patagonia's 50th anniversary event, and we'll hear how she came to work for Patagonia, the work style at Patagonia's headquarters in Ventura, and how her job plays a role in Patagonia's mission. I would like to give a brief introduction of Aileen. Aileen is the global head of brand and business impact at Patagonia. She leads the company's brand marketing efforts, managing the strategy, teams, and programs that brings Patagonia's purpose to life in integrated campaigns. Aileen is passionate about driving environmental and societal changes and finding ways to turn consumers back into conscious citizens and activists. Prior to Patagonia, she worked for various mission-focused technology companies and nonprofits such as Tesla. She grew up in the middle of the United States, and thanks to her Midwest roots for keeping her grounded and for fostering her deep love and appreciation for the nature. When she isn't working, you are likely to find her outside cycling, swimming, backcountry skiing, or trail running.
Hello.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you finding Japan?
Oh, I love it. I really do. I've been once before, but only to Hokkaido. This is my first time, the main island, Tokyo. And being from or living in Southern California, it's not very green most of the year. And so I find myself just like taking photos of every tree and plant I see.
Wow. So I know you've been to Hokkaido, but what are some of your favorite things about Japan?
Oh, gosh. I think, my favorite places in general usually are because of their natural beauty. And Japan, I think, is spectacular in that. And I think I have just a deep appreciation for Japanese culture. And even from, modern day transportation, being able to take a train to so many places that's so different from where I live in California. There's like one train, it has a few stops, it's on time maybe 10% of the time. Everything's about cars and getting places super fast. So yeah, from the transportation just to the how old everything is, like the history. We were visiting in Kamakura yesterday. We went to see the Buddha, the big Buddha. And they were talking about how a typhoon knocked down the building around Buddha like 600 or 700 years ago. And I was like, that's longer than the US.
Definitely.
Been around. So yeah. Just a few things I could talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Japan is like so old, I grew up in the US, and when I came back, it's just such a different culture, and everything's just, there's so much history to everything. So
totally.
It's a big change, but maybe if you can give us a little introduction about yourself.
Yeah, cool. So I feel like I always start out describing myself as a Midwesterner, which I know some people, when you think about home, some people, like everybody has their own perspective on like what is home. And I think for me, being from the Midwest, it's stereotyped in the US as having a bunch of really nice, polite people. And I think that can be moderately true depending on, the day or time for me, but being from the Midwest really, I think, represents a perspective I have on just people in general. So was raised in a moderately conservative town, but raised by a big Irish Catholic family.
Okay.
And I lived in the same neighborhood as a lot of my aunts and uncles. My grandparents were one neighborhood over.
Yeah.
My grandma was like the matriarch of our family. So I was constantly surrounded by like probably 8 to 10 kids, cousins at any given time, and a lot of adults. And so I just like had a very, I guess, interesting perspective of like recognizing that my family dynamics were unusual compared to the nuclear small families of the friends around me. But yeah, so being from the Midwest and my family and upbringing definitely have shaped a lot of who I am and how I have ended up approaching work too.
In what ways?
Yeah. I've been reflecting a lot on this, especially during COVID and the past few years working at Patagonia. I was taught to be in service to others from a very young age. It was like, you think about what you're good at, think about your skills, and then think about how that's going to help other people. And so through my schooling and like growing up, I was always thinking about like, what am I good at? Like, I'm really like comfortable being around people. So that's because I have to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm used to being in like a bunch of dynamics, whether it's being the oldest or the youngest or like getting a lot of resources or having to like fight with my siblings over things. So yeah, that all had a big influence, I'd say, on what I decided to do with my life in terms of work and how I spend my time. So I'd say the main question I've been thinking about when it comes to work is what type of work and what type of setup has the greatest positive impact on society?
Seems like
big
you're
questions.
Perfect for the job you're at now, you know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's been a really interesting journey. I think thinking about how, the type of company structure, what places actually have a positive impact on society. I've worked for nonprofits. I've worked for startups. I've worked for solar and electric car companies. And I think the only type of work I haven't been in is government work, which is still, I think, interesting to me and obviously an important aspect of how societies and cultures are structured. But the question, especially in the last few years, I've been asking myself is, can a company really keep its bottom line and promote or watch out for the benefit of people and planet? And that's what attracted me to Patagonia.
Okay.
And it's been awesome to like really be what I feel at a company that cares about that question and is asking itself the same question. Like, I felt like I finally met a company that's asking the same questions that I asked myself. So,
and Patagonia is so influential, you know, in the world of business, not just apparel, you know. So what you guys do is, you know, it benefits and it affects everyone on the planet.
Yeah. It's really, I'm inspired daily by the types of questions I get to ask at work that in my previous experience and just from people I know, friends and family, not everyone gets to ask the question of how do we inspire people to take action on behalf of people on the planet, and how do we get people to positively change their behavior so that we can exist and help shepherd a better future in the face of the climate crisis. Like, those aren't normal questions to ask at a company.
It's not something you say at a board meeting at a solar company or an electric vehicle company, right?
Totally. And like working in those places was inspiring in a different way of really, both in solar in like 2010 to 2015 in the US, there was a rise of tax credits and benefits, and I feel like a second awakening for at least Americans to think about energy as something that's beyond a commodity. Like most people flip on a light switch and don't think about where it comes from. And same with driving a car. Everybody's got so used to driving a car that turning on, the engine and like stepping on the gas pedal versus like stepping on an accelerator because it's not a gas powered vehicle. Like those nuances or that understanding of things can be different hadn't really happened in the US. So being in those spaces at a time of transformation and being able to be a part of the acceleration of electric vehicles and solar was awesome. And definitely something that I'm grateful that I had the opportunity for, but we weren't asking the questions. Not we, the leadership of both those companies weren't like, how are we going to end the climate crisis? Like it was more nuanced than that.
Definitely. I can imagine. But you must have had different options, to move into after working at those companies. And I was just wondering why, you kind of explained it, but what was the thing that made you decide to work at Patagonia?
Yeah. Certainly, I think after Patagonia changed its mission statement, I caught wind of that and I'd always been a fan of Patagonia and its commitment to really in thinking about building quality products, watching out for the environment. But then with the mission change, I grew more curious about, okay, how is a clothing company going to, be in business to save the home planet? Like what specifically does that mean? And like, what's their strategy? What are they thinking about? So when the opportunity for a job opened up, I interviewed for it again out of curiosity, which is, I think, something that's like carried me through a lot of the jobs and things I've done in life is just like being curious, and met some amazing people in the interview process, which I also think is like important and a gift to work with people that you like to be around. So it was definitely a combination of being like, I can see myself working alongside these people. Everyone seems really focused on the same things and aligned around the mission. And then I was curious to like get in and think about, okay, what are you all doing to align to that very lofty goal?
I guess curiosity too, right? Because you're looking from the outside and you're meeting these people and it's like, what would it be like to work at a company like this? And I think I'll get into the atmosphere at the venture office, but maybe before we get into that, what are some of your personal interests? Like, do you like outdoor sports? Or?
Yes. Sports have been a part of my life since I was very little. Back to the Midwest family, we didn't have big mountains. It was pretty flat where I grew up. And both my grandmothers loved to swim. And so I was taught at a very young age how to swim, and water is definitely my first love of, again, not having oceans, but lakes and pools, basically. And so I turned that into a sport. I started competing. Turns out I was pretty okay at it. So had the opportunity, to do some pretty fun races and long distance swimming, which I think taught me like a lot about myself and the idea of like endurance and grit.
Long distance swimming is no joke.
I know. It's just like being okay, being in the water for hours and just being cool with your own thoughts and like managing pain. And something about being like submersed in water too just felt very comfortable and freeing. I still go back to it when I get stressed out.
Yeah.
I actually just recently started swimming again a few months ago, and I kind of say to myself, like, oh, it's good to be home.
Yeah, I mean,
back in the water.
it kind of brings you back, right? Being in the water. Do you swim in the ocean in Ventura?
You know, I haven't as much as I would like to.
Okay.
I think being from the Midwest and having lakes, the ocean's just like still a bit of a foreign object to me, of being like, oh, there's bigger things in this water than there are in the lakes than I'm used to.
Definitely.
But I've tried to pick up surfing.
Okay.
And should be more committed to swimming in the ocean. Yeah. Since it's right there.
But I think with a surfboard, you feel safer.
Yeah,
right?
you do. So, you really do. It's like a security blanket.
Especially up in Ventura, you know, it's like, you don't want to think about what's underneath you. And you can't really see.
And you can't see.
Yeah, exactly.
So swimming was a great introduction to sort of the world of organized sports. Yeah. It was sort of like I could be on a team and I could participate towards a bigger goal, but I had my own lane and I could push myself as hard as I wanted to. Yeah. And I think that has carried through the rest of like the sports I've been interested in. So backcountry skiing, trail running, biking, they're all kind of the same individual, but also can be connected to a larger team, which very much is the ethos and the founding of Patagonia as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Seems like it's a perfect match kind of where you're at right now with Patagonia.
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of like when you say that. I'm like, no. Nothing's perfect. But it feels, it does. I feel very connected to both the founding of the company and the sort of the core principles and values and how we express those today. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe if you can, let the listeners know, I think the people listening to this podcast will be very interested at what it's like working at Patagonia and what the atmosphere at the office is. So first question I have is, how do you commute to the office? Do you live close to the office? Or?
Yeah, I do. I live very close, and that was intentional. Previously, I was in the San Francisco Bay Area and had to commute using trains and buses about an hour and a half each way to work. Very long. It was about 50 miles away. And again, back to like transportation, California in the bigger cities has some of it figured out, but it's still not where it ideally could be. Yeah. It's not living its best expression, I'd say.
Exactly.
So when we moved to Ventura, I was interested in being able to walk or bike to work.
Okay.
I love to bike to work, and so my bike commute is about 4 minutes.
Wow.
And my walk commute is about 10.
Wow. It's a short bike commute.
It's very short. Sometimes, I've never told anyone this, sometimes I just like go an extra long route, like a very, roundabout way of getting in, just so I can have like a few more minutes
to yourself,
to myself before I start the day. Yeah. But I'd say, that's probably pretty true of my other colleagues who live in Ventura. So our main offices are in Ventura, California. But we also have people that live in the surrounding areas. So Santa Barbara, Ojai, some even in LA. So some people have a little bit longer commutes where they have to use cars to get to. But I feel very fortunate that I was able to find a setup where I could be so close.
Yeah. So when I hear Ventura, it's, first thing that comes to mind is Patagonia, right? And maybe the waves. But how many people work at Patagonia, the Ventura office, for example? Yeah,
we have over 600 people who work between, we have 2 separate buildings or campuses in the Ventura area. So we're all sort of spread out, but it is a lot of more people than I even imagined when I first started. Yeah,
I think the listeners will be, they'll be like, wow, 600 people at the office. That's a very big company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for an outdoor brand, you know.
Totally.
What's the office environment like? What's a normal day for you in the office? How does it start? Coffee, lunch, you know?
Oh, great question. So I'd say the office environment is really unique compared to the other places I've personally worked. And I think Patagonia prides itself on being, I'm using like air quotes, non-corporate or like anti-corporate. And so I ride my bike to work. I get in, I either have my own coffee or I go get a coffee. And the first thing you notice when you come into campus is we have a solar parking garage structure that you can park underneath, as well as multiple spots for bike parking. And when you arrive, it's also childcare drop-off. So we have on-site childcare, and which is definitely taken advantage of by all of those people at work who have children. And so it's just a bunch of families bringing their kids into work to drop them off right next to the building I work at. So I usually say hi to other coworkers and their kids, grab some breakfast. We have an amazing on-site cafe that sources local organic ingredients and makes us breakfast, lunch, snacks every day. I know we're spoiled. Really spoiled. Yeah. When I do end up working from home, which is maybe 1-2 days a week, I will go to my fridge and be like, oh my God, I have nothing to eat. Like I don't even remember how to make my own lunch anymore. And when I do, it's never as good as the cafe. So it's honestly the draw. Some days I will leave my house and go into work so I can eat lunch at the cafe.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Right?
My 4-minute commute.
For the cafe.
Exactly. For the cafe. It's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, what are the hours, you know, like I'm sure it depends on the day, but what time do you get off and what do you like to do after? You know, just kind of a visual of a lifestyle working there.
Totally. So I think the great thing about having on-site childcare is that everybody is aligned around the times you'll be in the office. So childcare drop-off is from 8 to 8:30 and pickups from 5 to 5:30. So a good part of our workforce drops their kids off, picks them up, and go home. So like it's a ghost town after 5:30 every day, which is a great reminder because, you know, sometimes you're in the groove, you're like, oh, I'm just going to like stay and work late, but you see everybody else leave and you're like, oh yeah, I should go do something. Go be outside. So the childcare really, for me, is a great reminder to go live my life beyond work and be outside. So I like to bike primarily, and then I've been swimming more again in the outdoor pool. Maybe I should go to the ocean. So I'll go on a bike ride or go for a walk or run after work. Mostly. Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty ideal day, you know, especially for the Japanese listeners that, you know, commute hour and a half, work till 9 p.m. and commute home, right? Yeah,
totally. I mean, I was living that life previously in San Francisco. I would get home at like 8 p.m. every night. And my partner did the same thing. He worked at a different company that also had an hour and a half commute each way. And I feel like we looked at each other a few years in and we were like, we can't do this forever, right? So it was definitely a conscious change to make leaving the Bay Area and moving to Ventura and taking the job with Patagonia. We consciously chose that lifestyle.
For sure. And it sounds like it's, especially with the daycare, you know, it's kind of like a big family, you know, and you probably feel at home, right? Because you were raised in a big family kind of thing.
Oh, very interesting connection to make there. I've been thinking about that a lot. It is in my DNA to sort of gravitate towards big family environments, and I have to be careful because that's not my actual family. You know? But I really enjoy the feeling of big groups of people that work together towards common goals, and it definitely has that vibe, and the childcare certainly adds to that. I love hearing about my coworkers' kids and like all the funny things that they do during the day, or when we eat lunch, we have picnic tables and a grassy area right outside the cafe, which is right next to the childcare, and the kids are out playing after their lunch, and some of the parents will go grab their kids and eat lunch with them, and we all get to eat lunch together. So it's really special. It helps take you out of the sort of grind that the daily work, any daily work can leave you with.
I can imagine, because I have 2 kids, and I feel like if they showed up or if I saw them outside, it would like snap me out of anything I'm doing, right?
Totally. It does. Yeah. I don't have kids, but I feel the same way when I see all my colleagues' kids.
So does everybody that work there, are they into outdoor sports, or do you guys go, like trail running or surfing together?
Totally. There's a lot of that. It's very inclusive in that, if you start at Patagonia and you aren't a fan or haven't been participating in any of sort of our core sports, there's always a group of people that are willing to go out. When I moved to Ventura, I had surfed a couple of times, but wasn't a regular part of my life in San Francisco. And I was so surprised and happy to see like how many of my colleagues would ask me if I'd want to go surf with them. It didn't feel like normal surf culture to be like, come join us in the water, be someone else like blocking the lineup. So there's always a group going out to do something, surfing, mountain biking, trail running, climbing. And we have now 2 moon boards at the office, so different bouldering boards that we put on campus about a year ago. And so you can climb literally on your lunch break. Which is awesome. Yeah.
So I think from here, I want to get into what you do at Patagonia. And I'm sure the listeners kind of want to know what you do as a global head of brand and business impact. It's a big title, So what do you do at Patagonia now?
Great question. So my job title, Brand and Business Impact, was really meant, I think after the mission statement change, Patagonia and the leadership team started asking themselves, how are we going to reflect this audacious goal of being in business to save the home planet? How is that reflected within the rest of the organization? And my job is to think about marketing in an unusual way to ideally help us realize our behavior change goals. So I think about, from both the business perspective and Patagonia as a brand, how can Patagonia serve as a beacon for our broader mission statement and connect that to other businesses and people?
I think when you hear that, it sounds very big and broad. Maybe even for me and the listeners, like in what ways have you done it in the past? What projects have you worked on in the past? Maybe that will give us a picture. A little bit more descriptive, I guess, about what you have done, maybe.
Totally. So what that practically looks like on a daily basis is I oversee our global marketing strategy, and really in alignment with our 50th year anniversary, we spent the past few years thinking about what do we want the next 50 years of business to look like? If Patagonia is a 100-year experiment to help challenge how business can help be a part of saving the home planet and coming up with solutions to the climate crisis, my job is to think about how we use marketing tools to help change people's behavior so that we have a fighting chance at solving the climate crisis. And there's sort of three key areas that we focus on for behavior change that I'm responsible for from a marketing point of view. And that's how are we empowering and building more activists for environmental and social justice causes? How are we connecting more people to nature through the sports that we do? And then how are we changing people from, we call people consumers today. How do we change them from consumers back to responsible product owners? And so those are sort of the three key aspects of behavior change that we look at. And from a marketing point of view, you know, typical company marketing structure is what are the ways that you're connecting to your audience to help sell more product? Convince them using all of the different tools, whether it's paid media, different types of advertising, in-store displays, to get them to buy more things. That's sort of like the traditional apparel marketing concept. And so I feel so fortunate that I get to spend my time using those same tools. We call it like the dark arts of marketing. Get to use the dark arts of marketing to positively change people's behavior instead of negatively change people's behavior. I use the example of the tobacco industry convinced a bunch of people about 50 years ago that smoking was a great idea. And that was a lot of manipulation of people's behavior. And so why can't a clothing company use the same sort of tactics to manipulate people into better habits?
You know, you talked about the three different ways that you approach marketing, and one thing that kind of caught my interest was the first one where you know, increase the number of activists through marketing. That sounds like a very, from my perspective, a very uphill battle, because, you know, you can get people to go into nature through product and, you know, the other two, but, you know, changing people to become activists is, you know, it's a big challenge. And I think about it myself sometimes, you know, through my sport, how can I get people to be more, you know, conscious and active and an activist, you know, for the environment? What do you think is the best way to approach that?
Great question. I think for any company interested in creating or thinking about activism, I think you first need to think about what are the values and what are sort of the products that the company, like what is your differentiation as a company? And so I have some good friends at other apparel companies like Cotopaxi, which is a smaller outdoor brand based in the US. And their focus is really on human rights and labor rights within the apparel supply chain. And for Patagonia, I think embedded into our company values and our company history has been this idea of quality and responsibility. And so taking responsibility every time Patagonia has sort of realized, whether it was switching to organic cotton after realizing that conventional cotton was poisoning both people and the plants and the birds and the bees around them, to taking taking responsibility for the recycled inputs that we use in our products today. So lots of examples of how we've used responsibility and transparency through a product lens. And I think that extended nicely once we realized the impact that all companies have on the environment and people. From founding our 1% for the planet, so taxing ourselves and giving that to grassroots nonprofit, that gave us a window of opportunity to decide, okay, this is something we can do to take responsibility to make sure that we're funding the groups on the ground connected to environmental issues. How can we connect more people to that? And so activism for Patagonia really stemmed from our business and thinking about how to pioneer a more responsible way of doing things. And so Patagonia Action Works was the result of questioning how we could expand the 1% program that we started. And so connecting more people to grassroots organizations who are, again, on the ground, thinking about the issues most important to their specific communities felt like such a natural fit for our brand. So when it comes to how other businesses and other companies can think about activism, I think it, again, starts with what's your differentiation? What are the products that you're focused on? And how can those values translate to a wider audience? And I think from there, sky's the limit. There's so many aspects to the climate crisis and to just facing humanity that activism can be done in so many different ways. I've heard from a lot of people that like, oh, I work at a company that's not interested in activism. And I think that's just a lack of creativity. And so, when I'm out talking with people at other companies who are not impressed with how their company's showing up in terms of activism, I always say, you can start that. The 1% program was just an idea from within that then blossomed into this great relationship with our customers through Patagonia Action Works. So,
that was a great explanation. I think I'll take notes definitely, and try and pursue that in my life and through my sphere of influence. So I think you mentioned it before, but Patagonia, it is the 50th, and you've kind of talked about what's the next 50 years going to look like. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what the 50th is and what's the message and what are the actions you guys are looking to take and why it is so important?
Yeah, of course. I sort of use the 50th as a way to explain what I do and what I'm focused on. Our thinking around our 50th year anniversary really did start 2 years ago during the beginning of COVID, really. Working from home, knowing that the 50th was around the corner, we started a series of conversations internally to really ask ourselves what that meant, At the time, and still, the climate crisis is getting worse. We helped pioneer organic cotton supply chains within the apparel industry, but still less than 1% of the cotton grown for clothing is farmed organically. It can feel at times, and it did feel at times, like we were doing this great work, but it wasn't having the impact that we want it to have, or we're not moving at the speed that we need to move in order to have a fighting chance against the climate crisis. And so our 50th year message was in reaction to the commitments we wanted to remake to ourselves internally. We want all of the employees to know how seriously we take the issues of the climate crisis. And if we want to be a company that's around for another 50 years, we have to develop and innovate faster and change people's behavior more quickly and just get more people on board with the change that's necessary. And so the question that kept coming up for us is what's next? You know, what do we want the next 50 years to look like? And that was the inspiration for our 50th campaign was how do we communicate the values and the commitments that we're making to ourselves? What do we want to take forward and what do we want to leave behind? And how do we communicate that to our customer community and to people more broadly, ideally to inspire people to want to try and to inspire the idea of possibility, that there is possibility in fighting the climate crisis and surviving as a business and surviving as a species beyond the next 150 years.
Yeah, I think the past 50 years, you know, how everything moved was much slower than right now or the next 50 years, you know, and it's such a big mission to what you guys are trying to do at Patagonia. But I think it's very necessary because, you know, the mainstream is kind of moving in a different direction, right? But it must always feel like a uphill battle, you know. How do you guys stay motivated at work and within the team?
Totally. It's a great question. I think I've heard it termed as eco-conscious fatigue or like climate fatigue, of just when you're focused on trying to change the current trajectory of the climate crisis, whether you're a scientist doing work or, you know, in marketing, trying to convince people to change their behavior, it can be really exhausting and depressing.
Yeah.
And so
I can imagine.
You know, lots of things can be depressing, but certainly talking about these big lofty goals.
Yeah.
And so for us, you know, we kind of go back to our roots, and the connection to nature is such a primal, important, I guess, aspect of being human to begin with. And as a company founded in our love of outdoor spaces and places, it's always really important for us to remember to go outside.
Yeah.
And to remember what we're fighting for. So, you know, I know Yvonne Chouinard has a quote of the best cure for depression is action. And so we try to do that both in our daily work and then take time to go act and be outside, play outside.
Yeah, I think hearing you mention that, that sounds like the biggest motivation, right? It's like, in 50 years, if we want to surf, or if you want trails, or, you know, if you don't want everything to be VR, you know, like you kind of have to take action, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good message for the people in your sport community that haven't gotten on board with being, you know, activists or fighting for whatever the issue.
Yeah, because we take it for granted. Yeah, definitely. I think my last question for you is, you've mentioned a lot about, you know, your upbringing and what Patagonia is like and what you do at your job at Patagonia, but how do you yourself see the future of Patagonia? You know, you don't have to speak for Yvonne or the company, but how do you see, or how do you want the future of Patagonia to look like? It's kind of a big question, but I think it's a good one to finish on, maybe.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It is a great question. I think Well, we did talk about this a lot in getting to our 50th year in the campaign. Is we asked ourselves, what do each of us imagine the future looking like if we're doing our jobs well? What type of place would I live in? How would it be different from today? How would my work change? And so when I think about the future of Patagonia, there's still a lot of the things that I love about it today that I think would stay intact. You have a group of people who are committed to doing the work for people on the planet. And I think that would remain sort of at the core of a group of people who are committed to a life of service for others in many ways. And yeah, I would imagine we've grown a bigger community of activists, that more people are involved in fighting for local issues, whether that's, protecting coastlines, keeping extractive industries out of their communities, rebuilding trails, protecting and conserving lands and oceans, and that we've figured out a better relationship with our stuff for doing our jobs well, along with others. People should have less, and be okay with it. It won't feel like a chore or a sacrifice to have less. We'll have less, things will last longer, and we'll be more focused on spending time outdoors and with each other and in nature versus
indoors.
Consuming indoors. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. I think that I'd love to live in that future, Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Thank you, Aileen, for your time today. And I think the listeners will love this podcast. I personally really enjoyed it. And have a great time, rest of your trip in Japan.
Thank you, Kenny. Really appreciate it. It's been
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.